is ready, so let's just go in to draft.
Well, the
Team's
difference
turn
between
to
last
ban.
time is that L'Oreal wasn't actually available when the show match actually aired. So I'm really excited if they're going to be playing. Are we going to be seeing another series full of L'Oreals, or perhaps none of that, and maybe a different style or their own meta instead within the series? But Superman being
Blue
banned,
team's
I
turn
kind
to
of wonder though, because they opted to not ban for anything. So we'll see. Zephys being the first pick, this would mean if they lock in either the Sentinel or the Mallow, maybe prioritize either a Joker pick or a Violet pick. This would just really dictate, or rather say a lot about the team, whether they prioritize something macro heavy or perhaps something more in terms of damage heavy. We'll have to see.
Yep, they are soft locking into that Slims and Batman. So Batman has an interesting kit, right? To say, he goes invisible and then he can actually take you down relatively quickly. So very high burst coming out from the side of Indian Valor, and for the side of NatusVanguard, Clash P once again going on to Joker. We saw in the show matches he was just so very good at that hero. I'm not surprised he picked it up again.
Definitely. Crush then Joker, Zephys, they're locking in really strong picks for themselves and their composition. I mean, Indian Valor as well. Batman is rarely seen nowadays, but it still works from time to time, especially the early ganks is the key to making Batman work. Raz as well being locked in for their mid lane as well. So I thought they were going to pick that, but it's a Malak instead. So a lot of key meta picks for the side of NatusVanguard, and Lumber being covered in as well for picks either from top side down towards the bottom side of the lane. Try to get those stuns in, execute them as fast as you can, and there are a lot of key targets that could potentially fall upon your ultimate, especially the Joker on their side as well. So the stun locks is gonna heavily benefit them very well, especially they have the Slims. But look at this 3-man squad just gonna attack that Sage Golem.
Yep, Jugal 777 in a very uncomfortable position. You say 3-man IC4, they are immediately jumping onto that Mike Golem as well as that teeny little spider by the mid lane. And Lubu basically forced to back away, get out, and more reinforcements are coming through from the side of Indian Valor, but Ivy at this point in time really do not know how to react whatsoever. They will be leaving the aggression to the side of NatusVanguard. Hopefully Indian Valor will be able to play passive. I mean, all of the heroes very strong in the early game, especially that of Batman, as if you can actually utilize that ultimate, his ultimate ability, Dark Knight, to his greatest potential.
Exactly. I'm really loving the rotations from Vanguard, and Indian Valor was not able to respond properly because the blue buff was also being heavily guarded as well from their side, and it was too late to make the rotations anymore, and they wouldn't want to be late in their lane as well. But as you can spot out, it's actually the Raz at the top side of the map, just trying to probably soak some experience, probably try to clear the lane as he moves downwards, because that's at this point it's quite difficult to determine where they're going to be moving, but it looks like Walling's their target.
Yep, Suraj, King Suraj, not so kingly after all, because you will be the target, this little Slims, and this is classic NatusVanguard, just chasing the enemies away, do not want the kills whatsoever, transition it into that of the Abyssal Dragon. Fuse coming through, maybe trying to steal the Sentinel away from Batman and Lubu. Abyssal Dragon goes over to the side of NatusVanguard. Mayhu, the only one at Ash, successfully takes that Abyssal Dragon. I'm not sure who took the Sentinel, but I really doubt it'll be Fuse on that matter.
Yeah, I mean, Indian Valor, Batman here tried to take advantage of, everybody is on the bot side of the map, might as well take the Sentinel, at least that will boost me up to level 4, but at the same time, because you're not still level 4, you cannot exactly compete or try to contest the Abyssal Dragon, and right now it's just Zephys in a very huge level lead at this point. And look at that! Bold is just gonna fall down, and that is the power of a Batman. Just stun lock you, just get that invisibility on, and then just try to take advantage of that.
Yep, going in balls deep and able to pick that of Lindis up. Lindis obviously not aware of what's happening as well. I'm expecting this from Batman, but the lucky thing for the side of NatusVanguard obviously would be that early rotation into the Might Golem, stealing the buff away, and on top of able to just steal the buff away, you retract, or rather you take away some experience from Batman. So now Batman, as you see, currently sitting at level 5, whereas Ash on NatusVanguard already at 7. So this is a very, very big spike for the side of NatusVanguard, especially we understand the level 4 spike. That is when you get the ultimate, the very, very big ultimate for Ash and for that of Batman. Ash's ultimate, I think it's Death from Above. You just deal so much damage, you gain the ability to just able to dive into the back lines as well. Ash currently camping in the bot lane, trying to find a pickoff, and Batman might just come in to join this little team fight. Big pause as well on that crash, coming through Batman, putting down so much damage, able to take out balls once again. Lindis got nothing whatsoever, and also Batman, now Ash trying to go for that healing, able to get it. Big pause in the Metamorphosite state, will be able to push the entirety of Indian Valor away. So this is what I'm talking about. Indian Valor, they need time, and they need time to, you know, learn to react, respond to the side of NatusVanguard. I mean, NatusVanguard, they have a very strong comp, but Indian Valor, they just have so much mobility in their kit.
Exactly, and even though that NatusVanguard has been doing a lot of rotations, looks like Zephys with the Death from Above actually Sopa will be able to escape through and pass through this. He's trapped in between these walls. He gets sandwiched, and they managed to get a revenge kill off of that. But Abyssal Dragon being taken by Indian Valor, so that's fine. But I guess one thing to take away from the past few minutes is that Indian Valor, even though they've lost a few fights here and there, they just really try to keep the gold sorta even. And look at that, they're even in the lead at this point. But look at that, NatusVanguard is attacking the turret at this point.
Yep, taking down the turret, but will not be successful in their siege. Ash, although having the gold lead and obviously the level advantage, not quite able to deal with Batman whatsoever. I mean, Batman comes out of the blue, comes in, take out balls, and really Lindis have got nothing whatsoever against this Batman. So the side of NatusVanguard, in order for them to really win out, I think they just really need to, you know, understand a vision and obviously try to control a lot more of the map. And thus, that's why I see why they are pushing so hard and deep onto this bottom tier turret, because Batman is consistently roaming down into this bottom tier turret. So if they actually get that leverage, they might stand a chance against this Batman.
Exactly, and it's still a very slow winning phase at this point. As much NatusVanguard has the correct mindset, they really want to take down towers as they can, because if the more that they take down towers, the less likely Batman could, you know, get a pick off during the laning phase, and they want to end it. I mean, Natus just really wants to end it as fast as they can. Batman is just gonna try and take advantage of this, but at this point, it's just them just focusing on the bot lane for now. Maybe try to get a pick, because it's the lowest health tower in the game at the current moment.
Yep, so we now see Clash P and Fuse just rotating down into this Abyssal Dragon. Fuse actually able to just rotate into the mid lane, try to scare that of Raz away, and then back up into the top lane to try to hold that lane. But they will not be going for the Abyssal Dragon whatsoever, because it will be the turret they are after. Mayhu is down, will be the key target at this point. Very, very low, but that is a number. Able to survive through all of that. Batman comes out on the blue, tries to pick off someone, but big pause and the damage will and might just be enough to scare the entire team of Indian Valor away. Lubu able to take down one turret as well for the side of Indian Valor. So at this point, a relatively even trade between NatusVanguard and Indian Valor.
Indian Valor really, really impressive movements around the map as well. They're doing two things at the same time. They're defending the bottom side where the Abyssal Dragon is and trying to defend their turret, but at the same time they pressured mid as well, but just in time managed to get back into the top side of the map to defend their top side turret. So it's just really impressive for Indian Valor. They're holding their ground. They have the gold lead as well, and Abyssal Dragon is still up and running, but let's see where their priorities are, because a lot of members are focusing at the top side of the map. So take a pick.
Oh yeah, fuse. You are definitely fusing between all three enemies right there, and that is not the place that you want to be. Batman dumping down deep onto Clash P. Joker, what can you do? Obviously, Batman comes out on top. That has always been the story so far, but why so serious?
Yes, Siri, and as you can see, Lindis is just doing the split push for now because a lot of members have fallen from the NatusVanguard side. Abyssal Dragon already being taken. Look at this death squad right here. Ash is in big trouble. He tries to dash away from danger, but still getting chased down by 4 members on the side of Indian Valor, and they're gonna just congest with Lindis as well, and it's just a cleanup squad at this point. Crashed with a good metamorphosis just so that he could escape, but Lindis is already down.
Yep, Lindis is already down, but then, well, looking at turret trade-wise, I guess the side of NatusVanguard came out on top, although they lost that fight, but interestingly enough, right, so basically it's kind of even between Indian Valor and NatusVanguard, but Indian Valor obviously have got that gold lead, so although NatusVanguard, you know, they try their best to play very, very clean in terms of no kills, just going for the objectives, but Indian Valor do not want to roll the same way. What they are doing is they are going for the kills, and then afterwards, if they can, go in for the objectives. I think that is a cleverer play style altogether, because that way you are constantly having that player advantage anyways. And Batman obviously rocking the early part of the game, but doing relatively well for himself, 2-0 and 3, and with that in mind, it's quite obvious, right? Although the side of NatusVanguard did try to hold that of Batman away, but it's just not quite happening because the aggression wasn't consistent.
Yeah, and I guess the good thing about Indian Valor as well is they try to take 2 things at the same time around the map, try to create twice as pressure as possible for Vanguard, but they do have a really good scaling composition as well, but they're gonna start a fight.
Yep, they will be starting a fight once again. Mayhu with the first brought down low, but that is not the target that you want to go for. Batman clearing up in the backlines, going up against Lindis, and now Batman will be jumped on by all 4 members. Might just go down right now, but will be able to just run away. And with his slither of health, Juggle 1-7-7-7, not quite in a very comfortable position, going up against 4 members of NatusVanguard, and this is the time they can finally take this mid-tier turret. And Ahsoka, I don't think you really want to be there as a Raz. Ash is there, Clash P is there, they can easily take you down. Obviously, Ahsoka playing this very, very pokey Raz rather than going in deep to try to pick off something. And very good transition once again into the Abyssal Dragon.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit worrisome for Indian Valor if the game continues to progress. The longer it gets, most likely Vanguard is gonna have the advantage, especially during these 5v5 team fights, because they have a really good composition. Malak and Crushed as your front line, Lindis as your utility and additional sustained damage, Joker as your burst damage, Zephys with the dive, and try to just disrupt the back line as well. So they have a very, very good and solid composition on their side, especially if it scales on towards the late game. Indian Valor has a really good composition as well, just a little bit worried how effective Batman is going to be as the game progresses. So that's one thing that I'm concerned of in the side of Indian Valor. But at this point, they're going to be waiting for objectives. The map is just going to be blown wide open as the game continues. And at this point, we will see a lot more 5v5 team fights perhaps, and the Dark Slayer might be the next target for this team.
Yep, the side of Indian Valor definitely priming up for this Dark Slayer. Batman tries to catch on to Big Paws. Big Paws able to jump away. Now Batman in a very dangerous position will be shut down by NV Balls right there. Juggle 777. I don't think that is a place that you want to be at. Mayhu as well. Mayhu will be going in. 4 members. Can Mayhu perform magic? Or that will be Juggle 777 with the magic, with the performance, and Ash coming up for the cleanup as well as on to Mayhu. And this fight is won by NatusVanguard. They will transition into that of the Dark Slayer.
Man, oh man, NatusVanguard got an ace, and they're getting the Dark Slayer as well. Sentinel, everything, and that would mean them pushing more and taking advantage of that more. And if ever Indian Valor just comes back online, all 5 members, they're just going to be very hesitant in what do you call this, defending, and probably just fall back to the high ground towers instead and give away all these second tier towers for NatusVanguard, as they have the Dark Slayer. Might be a little bit tricky right here, but they're gonna brave the storm, probably clear down the waves just to be safe, and they respect that. Abyssal Dragon is still there for the taking as well, so they could opt for that instead.
Yep, they might opt for that, but just look at the damage onto Ahsoka, forcing that Raj to back off. Batman as well getting caught out. Will be using Dark Knight to go turn invisible, but will be spotted out anyways by this Lindis. So much pressure in this mid lane. They can definitely push it down. You said it will be tricky. Yes, with everyone at full health, but now Valor jumping in, forcing a team fight to come through. Ahsoka very low, forced to back out, and a great metamorphosis coming through from Big Paws on that crash. They will be continuing on this team fight as very low, but no worries whatsoever because the damage output is coming from the lid. Will be able to land the last strike, picking up that of Batman, and now it is the numbers advantage will go over to Indian Valor, but Indian Valor do not quite have what it takes right now. They are forced all the way back. There's so much damage coming out from the side of NatusVanguard, and with that, Abyssal Dragon.
Exactly. Indian Valor at this point, I did mention how I will question how effective Batman is during the later phases of the game. Normally you want to use Batman to snowball, get a lot of kills during the laning phase, and then when mid-game phase come, at least you just get a just push your way through and strong arm your way through towards objectives and towards towers and just win the game. But because it's quite an even match, as the game scales, it's really problematic because NatusVanguard has a very solid comp. It really works well on team fights and objective taking as the game progresses. But at this point, you know, it's just really, I haven't really seen any plays from Ahsoka just yet, mainly because Ahsoka on this Raz is going to be heavily reliant on trying to poke, but because of how much dive Vanguard has, they're not gonna give you the opportunity to land all these pokes whatsoever, and because they're in the lead, they might just try to push their way through and start a fight that their Indian Valor is not prepared for.
I mean, such good tanks for the side of Vanguard. I don't really think, even if Ahsoka does manage to land those pokes, it would not deal a lot of damage, especially if, you know, they have their health barrier. Like now, I mean, Ahsoka will basically be a sitting duck in a lot of the team fights, which we saw. He's the first to go down because he has to be frontlining. He has to go in for those damage because he's a Ras, but it's just not happening just yet for Ahsoka. The moment he goes in, Metamorphosis will be used by Big Paws, pushing everyone against the wall. A lot of stun, a lot of damage will be coming through from that from above, from Ash especially. Jugo 777, yes, you may be a Lubu, you have got very high sustain. You can definitely just jump into the backline, but it's just not enough whatsoever.
The Raz is split pushing though, that's you have 3 members defending your core, and basically, yeah, I think GGWP, Vanguard just played so well there. It was quite even during probably the early phases of the game, but, you know, Vanguard definitely knew what to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, NatusVanguard, they were shaky in the front part of the game. Yes, they went in for the aggressive stage draft because they started, so let's get right on.
Alrighty, so it's gonna be a Joker ban here. Maybe it's gonna be a Superman ban. No surprises there if they do, but this opens up again Zephys. You could pick a Zephys first pick, which they do, which is great. Either they pick their marksman now because Joker is already being taken, so get your Slims if you really want that for yourself, or get your Violet just to secure that late game potential. But if you're gonna get that Slims, maybe you get a Malak on your side, or perhaps, you know, get the Lindis. They're just choosing at this point, but you know, they chose the Malak.
Blue team's turn
Yep.
to pick.
For all of this time, I've only seen Clash P plays that Joker. So maybe it's a targeted ban coming through from Indian Valor. And I'm really liking this Samuel pickup from the side of Indian Valor. I mean, with their playstyle itself, although they are not very team fight centered, However, they might just be able to make this work because in the previous team comp, it is just running away, a lot of running away, a lot of poking, not so much of diving straight in, although they really want to. I mean, just look at the Ras in the previous team fight, previous game. He really wanted to go in, but the moment he's in, he dies. So maybe a change up, a Zaniel, a Lubu, and a Zephys will be a good pickup for the side of Indian Valor. However, the response coming out, a Crash and a Quick Nap.
This is very scary because if you pair that up with a Lindis, then it's just really heavy roams, kills here and there. This is literally what Batman was supposed to do earlier. This is the composition what Vanguard has at this point. And Jinna being selected as well, I believe that's very interesting because they sense that, okay, they have a lot of dive heroes on the side of Vanguard, so I believe, you know, Jinna was probably the logical decision on their side as well. A lot of macro choices or decision making or strategy for your team, and having a Tara as well, so there's a lot of split potential on their side, but we'll have to see if there's going to be an invade on the jungle, maybe taking a buff or two, or try to deny the rotations, the jungle rotations of the Cricknack, just so that he would spike slower. But we'll have to see, as they are already taking the Might Golem.
Yep, they will be going in for the Might Golem to try deny that level 2, the level 4 away from Cricknack, and they successfully do so, and they might even hurt more than that level 4, taking away the camp nearest to lane. But Ahsoka right now is actually on the Tara rather than Gina. I was expecting Ahsoka to be on that Gina. However, Tara now ganked by all 3 members of NatusVanguard, going very low, and the first blood will be given away to Clash P. Tara. You've got great sustain, like I mentioned that before, but that is when you get your ultimate, when you have the instantaneous healing, your heal over time. That is very, very valuable. But however, King Suraj once again, NatusVanguard going very, very aggressive, going for those aggressive plays right now, rather than the conservative, passive, look for an opening kind of plays.
Yeah, I can imagine that NatusVanguard is going to keep doing this as the game progresses, because in terms of CC, especially AoE CC, NatusVanguard is very rich with it. So when it comes to 5v5 team fights, it's just going to be very explosive for Vanguard. But look at that, they're just gonna steal that away. And even though there's 2 people, I mean, they still managed to get the vision. But going back to my point is that it's really going to be difficult whenever they do these 5v5 fights, because there's a lot of CC going around for Vanguard. But meanwhile, for Indian Valor, it's very reliant on how they execute the dive. It has to be clean, it has to be bursty, and it has to be secure. If not, they might get punished and they might get locked down and they can't escape. So King Siraj managed to just leap away from danger as the Crushed and the Lumber just tried to dive onto him, force him back, but Abyssal Dragon is the next juicy target for both of these teams.
Yep, juicy, but all 4 members of Indian Valor definitely priming up for this Abyssal Dragon take, whereas for the side of NatusVanguard, they had their priorities elsewhere, and that is against Jugal 777. Shock was used, Jugal 7777, oh! This sustain coming through, and Jugal 777 with the plays, surviving through all of that, the ultimates, the chase, and still able to survive. And this is a great opening for the side of Indian Valor, taking this Abyssal Dragon unless it's stolen away by Clash P or Box.
I'm looking at the punish and it's on cooldown, so I guess the potential is not going to be there, but Crest Metamorphosis in. Zenial is just going to try to save the day as Tara leads the charge, as he just goes back as well, trying to micro his way to safety as Paw's Metamorphosis has expired for now, but Abyssal Dragon already being taken by Indian Valor. Great job, and they decide to back away and respect all the damage from Vanguard.
Yep, and once again, we are seeing a great lead from Indian Valor. I'm not discounting that they have skill. The issue is that whether or not they can bring this into a late game. Looking at the team comp, it is quite obvious they have what it takes, but I'm just afraid that their micro plays or even their macro plays in that late game will be jeopardized because they're 1 man down and they just suddenly lose all hopes to play, not to play, but at least know how to play around that late game. But now another team fight will be happening right now. Sopa, like you mentioned earlier on, leading the charge onto Clash B, trying to take this Lindis down, but Jugo 7-7, very, very low, will be taken down by Fuse on that Malak, and now Batman will suffer the coincidence, not the coincidence, but the consequence of diving in too deep and getting too low. Actually, the whole of Indian Valor will, because they will be now pushing down this mid-tier turret, or maybe a Sopa will be going down as taking too many turret shots, tower shots, and will be going down. Batman with that TP in front of the entirety of NatusVanguard, balls going very, very low. Batman able to jump to safety. That is not a Batman, that is Zephyr's able to jump to safety.
It's actually pretty interesting how King Suraj on the Senyel had his ultimate online. So it was just them trying to hold off onto the 4v5 potential clash for them to win. It's just that they just decided to probably try to force this fight, and then Senyel will just keep the Crash at bay and perhaps maybe force the Crash to go back on mid and then maybe do a split push. But as you can see, a fight's gonna start.
Yep, I don't think that is a very clever move coming through from Indian Valor, just going for the Dragon haphazardly. Sopa will, sorry, that was Mayhu that went down, and Sopa has got nothing whatsoever on NatusVanguard. Clash B and Balls doing a very good job trying to zone Suraj and Sopa out. Abyssal Dragon will be taken indefinitely by the side of NatusVanguard.
Yeah, so at this point, there's just 2 clashes already that transpired, and Suraj wasn't able to use the Senyel ult, but I guess they wanted to be a little bit more patient there, and that's the reason why they decided not to use it. Meanwhile, it's just gonna be classic here, Big Pause, super brave, just trying to clear down the waves for now, but just as you mentioned from earlier, we're gonna be worried about the damage output coming from Indian Valor. Normally, you want this composition to work when you try to snowball, when you have a really, really good lead. But at this point, NatusVanguard is just going to be getting more, it's going to get more painful as the game progresses. Kriknak, Zephyr's for me, really, really good, but you just have to have the really good backline damage perhaps, or get a snowball going if you want to make this thing work with your current composition, but you don't have that really painful scaling marksman from the previous comp, so I'm a little bit worried, I suppose. But then again, maybe we'll have to see on the next clash for now, as there's a lot of protection going around on their side as well, I suppose.
Yep, I mean, if you were to ask me, I personally think that, you know, Zaniel has been a little too reserved with using that ultimate of his. I mean, it is up every, I don't know, like 40 seconds, if I remember correctly, it's up every 40 seconds, and they don't fight in between like 20 seconds after, because they have to heal up, they had to move around the map after all. So it had Zaniel, I mean, there was 2 opportunities for Zaniel to actually even out the team fight and maybe come out on top, because the only reason the side of Indian Valor lost all the team fights was simply because of the numbers advantage. Had Zaniel just went in and just went across the map, went into the team fight, would have evened out the gamble that the side of Indian Valor had to take. At a 50 seconds cooldown, I think that's a worth it gamble, but now in the top lane we'll have a fight happening. Fuse will be the first to go down, and now Ash is getting chased by Sopa and Jugo 777, both of which has great sustain in their kit. And Sopa, or rather that of Kriknak, will be able to get away soon, but in this bottom lane, a 3v3 against this Abyssal Dragon, a tug of war will be happening. Metamorphosis getting used. Mayhu with that ultimate, just zoning out everyone, and the side of NatusVanguard will have to back off into the safety of their tower.
Indian Valor doing a good job taking advantage of the comps and the combinations of how these mini squads are forming. We see the duo of Kriknak and Malak at the top side of the map. You send your Tara, you send your Lubu, and you just practically out-sustain them in the fight, especially if it was initially a 1v2 in the first place. But you see a lot of people running around the map for now, as the rest of the members from Indian Valor is going to be satisfied as they try to retreat instead, perhaps try to scare Fuse away from their own jungle. But as you can see, Abyssal Dragon already being taken by Indian Valor from earlier. They're playing their squad combinations or their hero combinations and hero synergies quite well, and they practically overwhelm. The job of Mehu at this point is just to try and scare away Clash B, activate your ultimate, and just push the Lindis away because he's gonna get painful, he's gonna get damage reduction as well on towards the Gina, and that's the key there. Zone it, get objectives, go get away, and just try to pile up the gold as much as you can. And when you're confident enough, and that's the time you can practically dive in and get a pick and just storm your way towards objectives.
Yep, and I believe this is the calm before the storm. All the members of both teams really just priming up for a possibly huge team fight right now. It is close to the 10-minute mark. It is actually 10 minutes into this game, and although we are seeing a rather passive gameplay from both of these teams, but now plays will be made, or rather might be made at this point, as with the split push might just be able to take down this mid-tier turret, taking a lot of damage from that ultimate. Batman is on the chase. Will Zephyrus be able to go in with the death from above, and Ash able to just get away scot-free, able to pick up one turret for the side tower for the side of NatusVanguard, and Zaniel himself actually split pushing at the top part together with Tara. So an even turret trade out, and now you're looking at Indian Valor once again giving up their gold lead, not really snowballing, and then you see NatusVanguard actually slowly catching up in terms of gold.
Exactly, nice and easy for this side, but looks like they want to start a fight. Spots out the lumber on that side, but meanwhile on the bottom side, Jugal actually being forced back to his tower, but that's balls gone. That's another extra CC gone. And Senyo is split pushing at the top side of the map. So everywhere you go, NatusVanguard is just practically trying to pick up the pieces here, because at this point it's just them trying to steady up, clear down the waves, or else they're gonna lose more than, you know, they're gonna suffer from what they did there in the bot side of the map.
Yep, I mean, they have to get their priorities straight. I mean, investing 4 people to just gank one Lupu, I don't think that is a very smart decision coming out from NatusVanguard. They have to go back to the drawing block. They have to understand that a lot of heroes that the side of Indian Valor actually picked out are super tanky, super sustainable, like that of Tara, Zeno, and even Lubu. I mean, Lubu's ultimate just giving so much lifesteal is unbelievable. And on top of that as well, Tara has got passive healing, and with an ultimate, just consistent healing, even able to take out, I'm not sure if they've actually nerfed that, but when I was playing Tara, I was able to dive down 2 Taras to pick up a kills. Why? Because I know my ultimate is gonna save me for sure. So that is how sustaining Tara can get at this point when there is no clear difference in terms of goal. I mean, 2k, 1k plus 2k is not a clear difference. Messing with the Tara or investing too many for a gank, it's not worth it at all.
But as you can see, that dive was so worth, but the rest of the members from Vanguard are just trying to pick up the pieces, and Batman is in the middle of it all, but he's quite very low at this point, and Crash actually activates Metamorphosis. Batman, with a low cooldowns, manages to escape, gets the heal from Siraj, but we'll have to see because top lane is shoving and Ash is super low as well. They can manage the chase here as Ash has a lot of mobility on his kit as well. Wowie wow, look at that. Indian Valor is doing it.
Yep, they are definitely doing it. They are pushing down this mid-tier turret. Ash and Big Paws try their best to hold this turret, but it may just not be the right decision whatsoever. Paws comes in with the charge. And I really like the team call, I want to say, but it's just not getting executed well. Now all 4 members of the side of NatusVanguard will be going in for the chase, try to find something. Ahsoka is who they fight, as with Mehu as well. This Gina, I was initially doubtful of the pickups, but seeing of how much dive and how much zoning that Mehu can actually provide to the team, I'm relatively impressed.
Exactly, it's been working wonders for them, especially Clash B is not able to do the expected damage. Looks like Siraj will bump into Clash B, will spot them out in their rotation. Again, you can see how much they're suffering at this point, mainly because of the top side getting pushed so much. They have to run back from time to time just to shove that wave, and so that it doesn't push through towards the high ground top side turret. Abyssal Dragon has been killed. Great distraction there as they take the objective, but Senyo again is doing his job.
Yep, Senyo doing his job, but once again, wrong investment coming through from NatusVanguard, prioritizing on Sopa on that turret, but balls now in between sandwich. Oh my lord, just look at that damage. That is the buzz that I'm talking about, but Jugo777 will go in and try to pick up one, pick up two with assistant from Batman, and now Big Boss, and that Myla will be the last one standing. I doubt you can fight two full health heroes, and there you go. Ahsoka with their spin will be able to pick out that Fuse, and now Zaniel did not do whatsoever in that team fight, but push turret, but now in a very dangerous position, but will be able to back up.
The Jinner is doing so much work here as well. Lindis and Cricknack would probably dive, and then just Mayo would just click his ultimate, and then it's just gonna be really they're gonna have a difficult time assassinating the key targets as well. Batman is doing the work, as Zephys, and look at that, 2 people attacking the Dark Slayer, and this would put them at a very huge advantage for Indian Valor. This would put more confidence in their plays and in their strategy, and in whenever they want to be aggressive, and this would put NatusVanguard on their toes, especially that they might just try to give out or give away this second tier bottom turret, and just try to defend from the high ground turrets from their base anyways.
Yep, I think that is a smarter choice to actually make, to just give up on that dying turret and then try to defend your high ground. I mean, you have a tower down, which means your high ground is relatively exposed, and if you're not wary at all, then the enemies can just easily push into your core and destroy it ultimately. So that is one thing that NatusVanguard have to think about. They have the Dark Slayer buff, so they don't want to find a team fight whatsoever. However, they will have to if they jump onto them, and this is what that's happened. Ash forced to back out. Batman somewhere else picking up the Abyssal Dragon, so it's not with the team whatsoever. But now Jugo777 able to pick up 1 kill for himself, and now Big Paws and Fuse very high in HP. They can do something, they can try to do something, but now a Super very low. That is not a target that you want to go after. Zaniel or Mehu may be the one. Jugo777 trying to go up against Big Paws as with Fuse fires up, but looking back at the core, Zaniel, or rather Zephys, is trying to finish the game but would not be successful with the Lindis defending, and that might just be the greatest defend of all time for this series just yet.
Exactly. You could see that there's so much pressure going on from Indian Valor. They tried, Zephys tried to do a 1v1 for Clash B, and just so that to confuse the rest of the members, but they didn't want to give up a kill. Only Fuse suffered from that engage. It's a temporary 4v5 at this point, and it was very difficult on NatusVanguard's side because Indian Valor was very empowered. They got the Dark Slayer buff for the siege as well. So can you imagine if it was a 5v5 situation? I like the play from Indian Valor because top side was already open anyways. Try to shove that down, try to use the bottom lane pressure as distraction anyways, and maybe potentially get a pick off, and then maybe you could flank somewhere else. And I feel like maybe Indian Valor could be a little bit more patient. I mean, we witnessed series number 1, and that's the primary lesson from there. Abyssal Dragon is about to spawn, and I feel like they might opt for that, and then they could probably try to siege once again because mid lane high ground turret is so low at this point.
Yep, I mean, mid lane, bottom lane, they're sitting at approximately a quarter to half health, but before a siege will be happening, decent pull coming throughout from both teams, especially from that Lindis itself, but Zeno in that bottom lane trying to push into this turret together. Lubu and Zephys coming through as well. A full-blown team fight. Metamorphosis gets used. King Suraj going very low, forced to back away from the team fight by Ash and Clash B as well. Just basically not very comfortable with that hero. And now we're just looking at this, and Batman just putting out so much damage on that Zephys. King Suraj goes down, and then the balls goes down to Batman as well. Now Jugo 777 getting chased by Fuse and Big Paws, but that shouldn't be your target whatsoever. Big Paws might just jump onto Mayhu. The core is getting attacked. Batman is onto that core. This is the Hail Mary push, the defend, but it will not be the case, and the core will be broken. Good game, well played, Indian Valor.
10k gold lead as well. They've been getting all the, early game wise, it was NatusVanguard getting most of the objectives, but then as the game was going, it was them winning all the fights, getting all the objectives, and they practically got a lot of map control.
Let's just jump straight in and let's see if Indian Valor actually would ban out Clash P's Joker, because I think that played a big part as well, but Zephyrs will be the one getting banned out. I mean, Zephyrs has got a very good presence, but Clash P, however, we saw him play Joker, and it's quite obvious the side of NatusVanguard really prioritize highly on this Joker pick for Clash P. As we saw when he was on that Lindis, he wasn't all that comfortable.
I'm actually very, very impressed and slightly amused that they're really opting for this Batman, because you are giving a lot. You just gave up the second rotation picks for Batman. It just really shows that either, okay, maybe Indian Valor would take Batman away from us, or, you know, it's something really interesting. But going back, Fresh and Lindis, they really obviously love the Lindis pick for themselves, but Seniel, Malak, a lot of strong picks on the side of NatusVanguard. So at this point though, I kind of wonder, I just realized is it a swap?
Yeah, no. Clash P is on NatusVanguard side, but I think the graphics that we are seeing now, it's a little error. Something's happening, but it's okay. It's okay. We understand that Fuse is on NatusVanguard side as well as Clash, as well as Big Paws. So with the Murad and that the Thane pickup, I'm really liking the Murad, the Crash, and the Thane pickup. I'm really liking what the side of NatusVanguard is picking up, is drafting. Whereas for the side of Indian Valor, we are seeing Mayhu once again prioritizing on the Gina. Will that even work now for Indian Valor to have a goal lead? Else, if Indian Valor had got the goal lead, then what NatusVanguard should do is basically hold on till the mid game when Indian Valor is the weakest, and then try to snowball from there.
Exactly, and basically as well, they do have Seniel on their side. So choices in terms of, you know, getting a 4v5 or trying to split push, trying to pressure somewhere else while Seniel's ult is up. It's another thing that Indian Valor can consider, which worked wonders for them during game number 2. Again, no risky plays whatsoever on the initial phases of the game. No jungle steals, no jungle pressure as well. So I guess they're playing safe, as this is the last game that will determine who's going to win this best of 3 series and moving on to the next round.
Yep, one misstep that can probably cost you the game, and thus we are seeing a much more passive gameplay coming out from both teams. But as I say, passive Asoba actually roaming down to help Mayhu clear out this lane, and then eventually try to catch Joker out. If not, then helping Lubu. Let's see, let's scroll down and see if that of what is that hero name again? Malak. Malak. There you go. So Malak actually coming down into the bottom lane to help that of Duo 777 out. So that is what that's expected, because the Abyssal Dragon is coming out soon. Big pause as well. Ooh, Balls may not be able to get this. Maybe not, and Balls will be able to. But now stuck in a sandwich would be Jugo 777 and Asopa, as War going in very deep. That is the first blood going over to Murad, and Asopa made to see next. You do not have your ultimate just yet. You're only level 2, one more basic attack, and that is all it takes. 2 kills in the early game for the side of NatusVanguard, and transitioning that immediately to the Abyssal Dragon. Batman is around the corner, but there will be no steals happening just yet.
That was the perfect situation, because you saw how aggressive Indian Valor was. They got 2 kills. Lindis passes through a through a bush, movement speed, okay, I'm gonna finish off this Malok, it's fine. And then Abyssal Dragon is just right there for the taking. Everybody's down. So it was just a huge win with no consolation prize whatsoever onto Indian Valor. So at this point, NatusVanguard should just really take advantage of this lead, take it easy. Batman wasn't able to utilize the first few moments when he reached level 4 and try to get and execute, mainly because there's not much to do, especially a lot of members are down on Indian Valor side. So job well done to try and punish the over-aggression, but you know, they have to reconsider for Indian Valor their decision making and being over-aggressive, because they could easily get punished.
Once again, very good rotation coming through from Clash P and the side of NatusVanguard, although they didn't quite secure anything whatsoever because the side of Indian Valor actually spotted them when they were coming down. But it is a thought that counts, right? I think it is a thought that counts. My girlfriend might not think so, but hey, that is a topic.
Oh, luxury. Anyway, here side is just a little noodle fight between the Thane and the Sentinel here at the top side. But because of it's such a safe lane, and Thane just definitely knows the threat of a Roman Batman from time to time, he's just not going to risk it, not going to overextend, which is the very best choice, which would limit the option or limit the choices of Batman on where he could potentially maximize his kit, and therefore he's looking for the Joker.
Yep, he may be looking for the Joker, but this isn't Gotham City, so Clash P can easily get away. But Batman, I can't say the same. Ash and Big Boss, Metamorphosis with that stun onto that wall. Batman in a very dangerous position, and there you go, getting blown up by Bowls on that. Oop, Ahsoka as well will be going in, but will not be worth your trouble whatsoever. Man, who with the ultimate, but it's just not enough damage whatsoever. Able to pick up Ash, but that is about it. I don't think that is worth the trade-off at all, because Abyssal Dragon is up. The turret is for the taking, so very well played to NatusVanguard, able to not as cleanly secure that fight, but at least come out on top, able to take down a mid-tier turret and eventually push down to the Abyssal Dragon.
Exactly, you are right. I'm not quite sure if it's an equal trade, but looks like Balls is gonna get executed by the Batman here. And at this point, it's Fuse is trying to back away as well. I guess that's a consolation prize, but a tower is a tower still, and a lot of members are already defending the mid side of the map.
Yep, Murat goes in with an ultimate, not quite, just for the poke, and they will be backing off. Clash P not in a reliable position to actually head in for a fight. Abyssal Dragon is still up. NatusVanguard has one to the name, but maybe Indian Valor might try to get this, but with, you know, that disadvantage that they currently have, I don't think they'll try. They'll probably try to contest it, but definitely not start it.
Yeah, one thing that I like about Indian Valor is that despite, you know, losing objectives here and there, losing clashes here and there, they're the type of team that still tries to stick the gold tries to even out the gold still, and it's really impressive and quite difficult to execute, especially if there's a lot of map control already going around for NatusVanguard. And it's something that's really commendable. But at this point, you can see the Batman is quite near the Joker. They're probably trying to get Abyssal Dragon control at this point. Mainly because it's one of the things that it's a juicy target at this point. It's really hard to gank the top side of the map for now, but let's see if fight's gonna happen.
Oh, but Clash P very near to the Batman, but Metamorphosis getting used. Ahsoka very low. Batman comes in, joining the fight. Ahsoka jumps back in as well, but I don't think that is a very smart choice, is it? Or maybe not. Metamorphosis is still up, and the first to go down will be Jugo 777. Jugo 777. I don't think you should be there. Ahsoka as well. You should back off as with Batman. And there you go, once again, NatusVanguard winning up on top of the team fight. Batman going down as with that turret.
Oh man, but at least the adjustments has been done. Indian Valor could have lost so much if they didn't send out that Jinna in the top side of the map, or else the thing would have been split pushing. But again, they had to suffer a lot of casualties there. Batman wasn't able to do the execution. A lot of members are pretty much very low already on Indian Valor side. NatusVanguard's kit is definitely Dive City, and they have a lot of shields to be offered by the Crest as well. They've got a lot of poke. Murad could just temporal turbulence and then just I'm out of here type of play style, and it works wonders for NatusVanguard, and they could keep repeating this sort of thing around towers or around objectives, and it's just gonna be very difficult for Indian Valor. So one thing that they could actually do is try to intercept any sort of aggressive rotations, which they've been doing for the past few minutes, and try to utilize the Batman when they do this, and probably try to execute someone mid-rotation. But at this point, because they're a Deathball squad, they're always together, they have the Lindis for the vision, it's quite hard to do, but I guess they just have to find the correct timing for now.
Yep, and for now, their easiest target will be the mid-tier turret if they really want to push in an objective, although, consistently we'll see Joker holding that turret and very, very well, but even that is their easiest turret to actually go for, if not that a top turret where the top tower where Thane is. That is a very vulnerable one because not a lot of the members of NatusVanguard do not generally rotate up at all. But as I'm saying that, we are seeing Crash slowly but surely going upwards. Jugo 777 doing the downwards maneuver, trying to catch out Clash P on that Joker. Will Lubu be actually successful? They will be backing up. This is probably the calm before the storm. As I'm saying that, Big Paws will be going on to Batman, spotting him out, even in his invisibility. There you go. Got tongue-tied there.
Yes, sirree. But going back though, Ahsoka might be in big trouble here. Might use the shock to actually go away. But you know what? Big Paws is already in. I know what you're gonna do. And he's just gonna try to zone or try to metamorphosis him, to CC lock him, make sure he's gonna be kill secured. But mid lane, we're gonna see Jinna trying to clear down the waves, but Clash P is already on the mark.
Yep, Clash P rotating really, really efficiently, going up to clear that mid lane. And Gina tried, but it wasn't successful at all. But now we are seeing NatusVanguard actually going immediately for that Abyssal Dragon after the takedown of Malak. So very good rotation once again. This is the NatusVanguard that we came to know, and they are playing exactly like how they should have in the previous game. However, in this one, I think it is just much more easier since there is no aggressive invade. They had the Crash on their team, they had the Lindis, they had the Joker. They are more comfortable on these heroes as compared to the previous game when Clash P is on the Lindis rather than the Joker.
Exactly, and as you can see, they're really stubborn in protecting their objectives, their towers at this point. Really fast rotations, just as you mentioned. Lindis here, Clash P as well, very, very deadly. But mid lane, I feel like they're gonna start something.
Yep, Ahsoka will be using shock to get out of there, probably in shock as well. But nothing much will be found except for Batman. As I'm saying that, Batman gets taken down very low and will be taken down by Balls. Ash continues on to Ahsoka, but the side of Indian Valor will be able to get away. Murad and gang, the whole gang of NatusVanguard will be moving out onto this top lane, trying to find King Suraj on that Zenith, or maybe not. They are actually going for the Dark Slayer. Will they be spotted out? Fuse doing a very good job zoning the entire team away, and Dark Slayer will be captured. The side of Indian Valor doesn't look good right now.
Exactly, and they could just try to surgically remove all of these objectives for now, because knowing that they have the Dark Slayer, Indian Valor is going to be very worried not to start any fight whatsoever. And the Metamorphosis just start a fight here as the Zenio is just very, very low at this point. But oh my, as you can see, the Thane with the ult is gonna help just steal and finish all the damage. Is gonna scare away Indian Valor for now, but Lubu is doing the split push.
Yep, Lubu trying to go in for the split push, but is it worth it if you are just gonna let all your turrets fall, only a high ground turret standing? I think a recall will be a smarter choice, because now the side of NatusVanguard definitely pushing into a high ground and might just possibly, if they're able to clear King Suraj and Ahsoka right now, might just be able to end again. Just look at the amount of damage coming out from Balls. Ahsoka may just be the next target, because now just look at that call, and that is the one push win that we were talking about, and that NatusVanguard successfully pulled off. So good game, well played. That is 2-1, and once again we are seeing the very bad mistake of split pushing.
Oh my, I mean, I think they had a good idea for Jugal to